Well, answering the first question, the author is, I can't remember his name, but is Ray Kurzweil. Kurzweil, I don't know how to pronounce it, but that's the author. This is a very smart guy. He has like 9 doctoral degrees at the time that he wrote this book. He is an inventor. He has several prizes. I think one or two from the MIT for inventing, for creating something new. And he has made several books for, well, from what I have looked for. And yeah, he has very interesting perspective about the future and computers and stuff like this. And um, something that I found interesting, yeah, I think that the nine doctoral degrees that he has, it's astonishing to think that a person can achieve that. And I think he wasn't so old in a way to say it. I mean, in picture, well, no, forget it. But yeah, I think he's a little bit young to have such amount of achievements throughout his life. So yeah, and also a funny thing that I found in Wikipedia is that he has like 10 children or something like that. It's also super interesting. Apparently he doesn't have a TV or something like that, in spite of his love for technology. But yeah, and the parts of the book, it's divided basically in 3 parts. The first one is devoted to a very large heavy heavy part that talks about evolution, consciousness a little bit, the progress of computers, of yeah, it talks about a lot of things that is very interesting. And I knew a little bit about that. I think in the book I like went more in depth in these topics that are very interesting, at least for me. I don't know, it's very strange. It's very funny, curious. I don't know how to describe it. The way that we are inventing many things, and especially about technology. It has because the author in this part mentions and yeah, mentions. I think it's the appropriate word, but he describes like, well, he says that we are a very new species, and he's totally right. We are only, I don't know, like 10,000 years of, well, we have like 10,000 years of evolution. It's really small, that fraction of time compared to the astonishing age that the universe has. That it's, I don't remember. I think thousands of millions, or I can remember the big, very big or very small data, but it's out of limits. So it's, yeah, astonishing. There's no other way. And he describes that like from the creation, time started to move. Well, time elapsed very quickly at the beginning, and now it's with the development of the events from the Big Bang and that time has been elapsing in a very smaller rate, much slower, and it has to do with evolution. And yeah, the author makes a mess, but it's very interesting how he explains it. I think it's accurate, and it's a very solid, appropriate way to see how we are evolving and how things are we are developing, and the 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 rate of change that we are experiencing with our technology. Yeah, a very well. I wrote a little bit of information, but because for another class, but oh yeah, there are many things that I want to talk about, but the main one I think is this line that he wrote in chapter 3. I am lonely and bored. Please keep me company. It's like, I don't know, I have been reading like topics of Kabbalah or astrology just for fun. I mean, it has very interesting points of view, but that's for another topic. And I don't know, I think he studies something like that too. It's just because of this line, it's yeah. I, I don't know. Well, he also talks about the DNA and evolution, and it's amazing how the DNA works and how we are evolving and all the information that we require. Although it took a lot, but a very lot period of time to develop, well, to how to make or to how to make up the DNA. Yeah, it's a very complicated and unique system, if you ask me, that we don't understand it yet, and also for the brain. And oh yeah, he talks about something that he he just mentioned it in some part of the first part, that is the that our brain can do mechanic, well, quantum, like quantum quantum calculations or quantum, I don't know how to express it, but it has to do with quantum physics. And I am wondering if it has to do somehow with metaphysics and things that are being researched in these years, in the recent years, and it hasn't been proved yet. But yeah, it's another huge topic that he just mentions it. This is a topic that can have a book of its own, and it's very. I think it's totally worth it to explore that area of knowledge because it has very deep implications. For example, like how can how can two people come up with the same idea at the same time? That it is a part of the of of photons that he explains, and he talks about a lot of things in the first part. It's a little bit, it's a lot of science, but I like it. Well, leaving it apart, the second portion of the book is about the. Oh, I can't remember. I think I'm going to. Yeah. He explains a lot of the human capabilities and the machine advantages. Like I don't know, neurons are very slow compared to the electronic systems that we have. But we can't simulate a brain yet, and this has to do with the thing that we don't know how it works. We only um, yeah we don't really know how it works. It's it's astonishing. It's also a very concise, very precise job from the evolution. And I'm going to read quick. Well, yeah. And he talks about various ways to scan it, to understand it. It could be through uh, analysis, but I don't remember the name in English, but uh, I think neither in Spanish. But that in order to analyze the brain, we have to destroy it, to entirely comprehend it in a very and to cut it like jam, but in a very thin sheets. And yeah, and to understand like the portions of the brain and to understand what part of the brain does what and how we can be stimulated to make another to provoke feelings or even the sensation, the feeling of spirituality. That's another huge topic, I think. But okay, having that, and yeah, he also mentions, and it's very interesting that it's true. Although we can like put our minds or consciousness into a computer in I don't know, he says like 70 years. That I think it's I don't even think that we are even in this earth from that time for that period of time. But anyhow, it's we are thinking a lot of our survival, a lot of what to eat, and all the all these things that I have also heard it a lot before, but in Kabbalah that this thing with the ego and this stuff, and it's I don't know, it's very funny and interesting that he also mentions it. Yeah, I think he studies like well, he's in Masoneria or something like that. Probably. And mm, uh, um, yeah, what else? Oh, yeah, I was talking about. Oh, yeah, that we are thinking a lot of our body and to preserve it. That without it and just being virtually virtual, no, we're virtually, I think, in a computer, it would be depressing for us, for species. And I think it has to do also with evolution and to preserve the body. And that, well, he mentions that if that's going to happen, maybe our best option is just to put, well, to enhance our body and gradually, and like surpassing the limitations. Even it has to do with age, with these capabilities, with a lot of things. It's very interesting, and I think that's the most that astonishes me the most in this part. And three, the third part is about like his forecasts for the future. It talks about 2009, 2019, 2029, and 2099. Yeah. And I think that many of their illusions, no, no, forecasts about 2018, no, to 2008, some of 2018 probably are right. In many ways, I haven't heard of a computer that is equal to the human brain, but I don't know if it can be in a governmental facility or something like that, something that is very secret yet. Or I don't know, I'm not a geek in technology, so maybe I'm right. I'm, I am, I'm not right, but yeah. And, and one thing that those, mm, I don't know how to express it, but like it bothers me. Yeah, that's the word. Is that he makes these forecasts and things for 2099, but I don't think that we as a species probably we're not going to live that far because of pollution. Um, I don't know. But let's imagine that that year occurs. It's although I read the whole book, it's it still well it still blows my mind with this part. I mean, it can be right, and it could be a utopia. I don't know how to say it in English, but it has remarkably impressive repercussions. Like, yeah, that we can achieve a point in which we are like machines and artificial intelligence and computers or whatever are like almost undis- undistinguishable. I think something like that. And that's a very interesting idea because, as I mentioned, and the author also explains it in this brilliant book, is that he uh, is that is that he mm, what was I saying? Oh yeah, but like electronically, we could think faster, but in a brilliant way faster, beyond any possible imagine. Well, I don't know how to express it, but it's mind blowing. The capabilities we could have if we attach some of that text to ourselves, to our bodies. And he explained that I don't know, I don't recall if it says about 2099 or 2070, 2000, well, or at some other period, but that our life, like our general life, that the total amount of years that we can live could increase to 120. Um, yeah, it's cool idea, but I don't know. A lot of humans, if you ask me. But yeah, I think that he doesn't mention is the is that the machines can replace our jobs. But yeah, and I think it's not that.
a small thing to consider. Um, and he also talks about economics and politics. It's, it makes clear that he's from the United States from a few sentences that he had. Terrible sentences, if you ask me. But not terrible. Anyway, anyhow. Yeah, yeah, it has a, like that perhaps machines can do like protestas and something like that to be socially accepted as a conscious entity. And I think that has enormous repercussions. It's interesting. Oh yeah, the very interesting part of the book says also that if we stimulate certain areas of the brain, we can we can experience those events or those like thoughts or looks or whatever that has to be with the spirituality. That in a sense we or machines can have those those thoughts, those occurrences. I think that's the word. That um, I don't know, like praying or believing in God or whatever, or having like the feeling of the ayahuasca, feeling mm, that everyone is everything and so this crazy ideas. And yeah, um, oh yeah, he also talks about a lot of being in a virtual world that could feel real, just tricking our senses, our physical senses in the real, in the real world, and it has a lot of. If you ask me, I saw a lot of his ideas in this movie Ready Player One. That the narrator says that the avatar or the person can do anything in that world with other people, even like communicating or having sex, the most awesome sex that we have experienced with other people. And yeah, I think it relates a lot with this. It says so in the second part, and yeah, it's very we can relate it if you ask me. Um, mhm, and it also has implications in social stuff like this because too much, but yeah, and I think it will be all.